Very done. And Melinda Littell here. Is Melinda here? And then the final witness, retired Sergeant Aquilino Janelle. I may have messed up your name. But in any event, we're on Senate Bill 962. And Senator Kagan, you can start, and then we'll go to the two witnesses or three. Is Ms. Littell here? Okay, going once, twice.
Who are you asking?
Yeah, she's not your sponsor panel, but she signed up favorable, Melinda Littell, but that's okay. You can start on Senate Bill 962.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, for the record, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville, and very proud to be a patriotic American. On January 6, 2021, 5 years ago and a little bit more, we watched a violent attack on our democracy. We watched a demonstration that was lawful under the First Amendment, gathering to express views, disintegrate into an attack on our U.S. Capitol. Police officers, law enforcement officers were attacked with stun guns and crutches and bear spray, flagpoles, and anything they could do to cause injury and disrespect. They went into the U.S. Capitol and desecrated it, invaded the Speaker's office, and desecrated our historic building. 5 officers died either that day or as a result of their physical and mental injuries. With me today, I'm so honored to have 2 American heroes who not only stood up to the insurrectionists that day, the criminals who were ultimately, many of them, arrested and convicted, but they have continued to speak out. Sergeant Aquilino Janelle, Harry Dunn will share their stories and their beliefs as to why this bill is so important. There were ultimately, Mr. Chair, 1,575 federal criminal cases. Many of them had served in the military. They had backgrounds in law enforcement. Over 1,100 were ultimately sentenced. 64% went to jail or prison. And we're not talking about littering. We're talking about assaulting federal law enforcement officers. We're talking about violent conduct and destruction of property at the U.S. Capitol. We're talking about seditious conspiracy against leaders of the extremist groups like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys for plotting to use violence to stop the peaceful transfer of power that has worked in our country as we are celebrating our 250th anniversary this year. Out of all those, exactly 2 were acquitted of all charges by judges after bench trials. On January 20th, 2025, on his very first day in office, Donald Trump issued blanket pardons after saying he would go case by case. He exonerated and pardoned 1,575, all of them, who were convicted of or pending conviction of crimes for storming the U.S. Capitol. But their criminal convictions, their records remain. You may remember, colleagues, and you know that I work a lot on election law, Carlos Ayala, in the good senator from District 38 in her district, and we both really liked him. And he was serving on our State Board of Elections. And then he was arrested by the FBI, and he was tried, and he was waiting to be sentenced just a couple of months later. Senate Bill 962 simply says that if you were convicted of a crime related to the January 6th insurrection, you cannot be appointed to a board, a commission, a task force, or a work group. You still have the right to go live your life peacefully, honestly, stay engaged in the community. This is simply blocking you from receiving a privilege and an honor of a gubernatorial appointment. I want to thank Secretary Molly Byron, our appointments secretary, for having multiple conversations with me about this bill. And I want to read just a couple of things, and then I will pass it on to my witnesses. I want to thank Congresswoman April McLean Delaney, who sent testimony. And I'm just going to read one sentence here. Quote from Congresswoman Delaney, quote, "The very people who attacked the heart of our national democracy, the reliability and trustworthiness of our institutions, were released from jails and given a legal token of appreciation from the president who ordered their unlawful attack." These people, 33 have been arrested again, and 13 have already been convicted of crimes in just the last 13 months since they were pardoned. An example includes a threat to murder House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in October of 2025, aggravated DUI, driving under the influence, and reckless homicide, a home invasion last May, and multiple charges related to child sex abuse, molesting a child under 12, a minor under 16, and that was in July 2025. This is not comprehensive. There are others. We do not want these people serving our state government in positions of prestige. Every single Democratic senator is a co-sponsor of this bill. I would be delighted and honored if our Republican colleagues would join us and speak out as Americans that we want upstanding citizens, residents of our state who choose to serve, who support democracy, and who have a clean record. We're not a part of this insurrectionist attack. I urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 962, and I turn it over to my wonderful witnesses.
Okay, Mr. Dunn, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, Chairman. Thank you. My name is, for the record, my name is Harry Dunn. I'm a former United States Capitol Police officer. And look, I'm all for second chances and allowing people to have their opportunity to redeem themselves. However, on January 20th, 2025, at approximately 8 p.m., the pardon took away any accountability that was in the progress of happening or taking place. Accountability serves two purposes. It serves as a deterrent to keep people from doing things again, and it also serves as some type of healing mechanism for those that were aggrieved. Listen, I would be less inclined to throw my full unwavering support behind this legislation if the Trump administration wasn't actively trying to rewrite history. On January 6, 2026, the White House created a website blaming Democrats for January 6. The website acknowledges 9 deaths of rioters and, quote, beautiful and courageous souls, and zero mention of the hundreds of injured police officers, and zero mention of the officers who lost their lives to suicide in the following days, weeks, and months. As recent as January 22nd, a sitting member of Congress addressed us officers by name while we were seated in the audience during a Jack Smith hearing in the House of Representatives, where he blamed officers for causing January 6th. I'd love to move on from one of the darkest days in American history and the worst day of my life. However, it's hard to move on with no accountability, and also the people responsible for it claiming victim status. Listen, I acknowledge my bias in this situation, which is why I'm thankful for Senator Kagan and all the other sponsors of this bill for taking this stance to ensure people hired and appointed to prestigious positions in our state serve with the belief in democracy and free and fair elections. And also, I'd just like to add, every raindrop contributes to a flood.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
Aquilina Ganel, I'm
Aquilino.
sorry, my apologies.
It's okay. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Vice Chairman, Kagan. On January 6, I was assaulted by more than 40 rioters. These individuals were violently attacking the Capitol and my colleagues. Many of them were charged and convicted. Some of them were not. As a matter of fact, last year, during the inauguration, Donald Trump pardoned those individuals. Some of them were scheduled to be sentenced, and I was supposed to be there, and that was taken away from me, that type of closure. My life has not been torn in a good way since that horrible day. It changed my life, but not for the better. This bill would help to remediate some of this trauma and PTSD, because the people who assaulted me and my colleagues on that day should not be awarded or given a token of as a way for them to, they got the second chance, and some of them, as Senator alluded, had re-offended in a worse way, attacking child and sexual violence against a child. So these individuals changed my life. I hope that you guys all support it. Because Donald Trump pardoned these people within a few minutes or hours after he got sworn in, under the same blanket with some of the same officers who protected the Capitol on January 6th. As a way to show his support for Capitol Police, he pardoned them, and that's a betrayal to our democracy and the law enforcement community.
Okay, let's take some questions for Vice Chair Kagan, our two witnesses. We're going to start with Senator Brooks.
All right, thanks, Chair. Thanks for the bill, Madam Vice Chair. Yeah. Legislative intent. Now, knowing that the bill aims to prevent individuals who were part of that attack from obtaining state-level jobs. Now, but if that person were to get a pardon from the president, would that have any impact, like due to preemption, federal law supersedes state law? Could you address that for me?
Thank you. Let me hit several parts of that,
Okay.
Senator. So first off, we have a letter from the Attorney General, and I'm just going to read one sentence from it, but I'm happy to share the whole thing if you like.
Okay.
Because the bill applies only to people convicted of crimes like assault or obstruction, not to those who merely attended the protest, so that's all legal, it likely would not be seen as punishing protected speech. So the question of First Amendment. There is lots of precedent. The Oklahoma City bombers were actually precluded by Congress from being buried in Arlington Cemetery. There are consequences to actions. And just to be more specific, you said precluded from getting state jobs. They can apply for state jobs. This bill does not mean they can't run for office. They can run for office. They could apply to be police officers. It's just the prestigious appointments by the governor to be on a board, a commission, a task force, or a work group. We have over 600 of those. That's all this is. They can still, if they're good law-abiding Marylanders, they can still apply for jobs and work in state government, county, municipal. All of that is just fine. And I hope that some of them regret their ways and would like to give back. But they shouldn't be allowed to get a prestigious appointment, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you for the question.
No, thanks. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Senator Watson.
This is an interesting bill, and while I appreciate the two heroes you have to your left and right, and we were actually very taken aback by what happened on January 6th. They were under the spell of a deranged president. This is my opinion. And so in their acts, they might have thought they were doing what they thought was right because they had a deranged president who coaxed them into those activities. Now, all of that being said, it doesn't take away from what they did. But if the governor decided to pardon someone who had been convicted of a crime, based on what you just said, those people could not be appointed to a commission to help kids who have been convicted of crimes or some other things. And so I have to think that, you know, the pardon is what it is. It doesn't clear the record. It just kind of says, okay, we forgive you and let's move on. But is there an opportunity to be able to resurrect some goodness out of that horrible, horrible event that could be to the benefit, you know, and be a part of the whole rehabilitation? I just want you to respond to that.
Thank you. Let me start, and then I'll toss it to you.
That sounds good.
Thank you. So Senator Watson, just to be clear, this is about one event, and this is a presidential pardon and a federal violation. So if somebody wanted to, if somebody did something and went to jail, we give them second chances. We encourage them to vote. We encourage them to get back in the community. Nothing about this would change any of that. This is just related to the one dark day of January 6, 2021. And that stands alone. There's certain things that are unique in our history, and that's why I brought this bill. But all other things, all other oopsies or violations, they can come back and serve and have a second chance. And again, this is just a very narrow prohibition for gubernatorial appointments.
If I may.
Senator, I don't disagree that the people there were under a spell, if you will, for the president. I mean, they told us while they were attacking us, the president sent us here. We tell them to leave. No, the president told us we could come here. Now imagine the most powerful person in the world saying you can do something. I mean, nobody in there, oh, most powerful person told me I can do this. Sure. However, I chuckle because if your mother told you to do something in my community, your mom tells you something, that's the top. It don't get better than your mother. And no matter what anybody says, you're going to do what your mom told you to do. However, if your mom tells you to go out and rob a bank, you're still going to do it for your mom, but you know that it's wrong. It's wrong. So I don't necessarily give any grace by saying that the president told them to do it as an argument. And I said in my closing statements, we need people in these positions, these prestigious positions, to serve with the belief in democracy and free and fair elections. So that's what I'll add to that.
My thing is that some of these people did get second chances, even though they were trying to destroy the same system that they now going to be serving on. Like, for example, some of the people working for Donald Trump now at the Justice Department, some of them were at the Capitol, and now they are dictating or telling officers, law enforcement officers, dictating policies or making policies that officers had to follow, even though they were attacking the officers on that day. So it's a little bit more kind of disingenuous for them and disrespectful and disloyal to the, like they claim to support law and order and the rule of law. But yeah, they were, on that day, they were trying to destroy that very same system.
Well, just a quick question. I mean, were there, I just, because we're not an island, I mean, any other states have anything like this in play?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Other states, I didn't think that was going to come up, but I do have that. Hold on.
I think Maine.
Wait.
While she is looking for her notes, I testified in Nevada and Carson City to similar legislation, not the exact same, but similar.
And Danny Hodges also did something in Arizona, and I believe Maine last year they passed a law related to some teaching the history of January 6th.
In addition, Mr.
That's a little
Chair-
bit different, but okay.
Yeah, that's different. California, New York, and Virginia either have considered or are considering now doing something very much like
Okay,
this.
but we would be the first to pass it? I'm just putting that out there, just
To
on a-
my knowledge.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, well, we've been the first.
Once again,
with-
Mr. Chair, we can be at the forefront.
No, we've been the first on a lot of stuff. Okay, Senator Brooks?
Yeah, one final question, Madam Vice Chair. Do you think individuals with character of this nature could possibly get through the vetting process of executive noms?
Well, that new chair of executive nominations is tough, but I have to remind you that Carlos Ayala got through executive nominations, and we all voted for him. He was unanimously approved to serve on our state board of elections. And I have to say that I went out to dinner with him. He wanted to learn about our elections and our process, and he was charming. He was delightful.
Right.
And then later, the FBI caught up with him and arrested him, and he was there that day. And so he resigned from the State Board of Elections, and we had to fill his seat. It was a Republican seat. The Republican Party nominated someone else. So this is not a hypothetical problem.
And if I may add one more thing, I don't know, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, more than 40 rioters attacked me on that day violently. I sustained 2 surgeries, one on my right foot and one on my left shoulder. And on that day, throughout my body there was a lot of injuries and lacerations to the point that I was bleeding from both my hands. When I was testifying in court in some of these cases, a lot of these individuals, the rioters, they claimed that they were caught up in the moment or the emotions or whatnot to gain some type of leniency from the judge. And some of them were genuinely sorry, but a lot of them were not. And I remember multiple of these individuals were, right after the judge gave him that leniency that they were seeking, they all looked at us or passed by us and said, I told you we were getting off, or see, Trump is going to pardon us, or all this is going to go away. So that we're not remorseful, truly, genuinely remorseful, as they were claiming on that day.
Okay, let me get one. We do have Mr. Weinberg is actually now here virtually.
Yes.
He was going to be in person.
If I can, before Mr. Weinberg comes
Sure.
up, I just want to say some nice things about him.
Okay.
He's here as favorable with amendment, and he's very modest. He was in Annapolis. He had to leave because his young daughter's birthday is today and her birthday party, so he has got to get home. I want to just mention that he has a PhD in political science from MIT and all that, but the key thing is that he was a senior professional staff member with the House Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol and drafted several major sections of the committee's final report. And so I appreciated conversations I've had with him and his insights, and he's coming at it from a legal perspective and consulted with a number of other attorneys. So, David, thank you for making a Zoom work while you're heading home.
Okay, and hopefully you're not driving, leaving Annapolis to get quickly to your daughter's birthday. Okay, Mr. Weinberg, you're going to be on the up to 2-minute clock, okay? And so you can begin.
You're too kind, thank you. Chair Feldman, Vice Chair Kagan, distinguished members of this committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today, even on the fly here. And officers Dunn and Gonell, thank you for your continued heroism. As you know, my name is David Weinberg. I'm testifying in my capacity as a policy strategist for Protect Democracy United, a cross-partisan 501c4 that seeks to strengthen our representative institutions. Protect Democracy United is favorable with amendments on Senate Bill 962. If American democracy is to survive, it is crucially important that the facts discussed here today of the January 6th attack to be understood, commemorated, and condemned as broadly as possible. And it is crucial for each of us to do our part to dispel the lies which incited that attack. Not every person who attended events in Washington, D.C. that day participated in the attack, nor did every individual who reached the Capitol personally strike a government officer. But individuals that day who knowingly violated the integrity of the Capitol building while it was under undeniable violent assault demonstrated fundamental disregard for bedrock principles of our republic. This bill conveys an important message that government office in the state of Maryland shall not be held open for individuals who engaged in such behavior. And I thank Vice Chair Kagan for her persistence on this issue. Now, my view is there may be ways in which rephrasing some parts of the bill might help, in particular lines 1 through 3 and 8 through 10 on page 3 might benefit from having their scope generalized to further disprove possible arguments that the bill is a bill of attainder that conflicts with pardon power. For instance, it could be harder to sustain such an argument against this bill if its operative provisions simply specified that any individual is disqualified if they engaged in an act of insurrection, sedition, assault, disorderly conduct, or trespassing while at a legislative facility under evident physical attack. But fundamentally, thank you for all that all of you do to sustain our democracy, and thank you for considering these views in support of SB 962.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weinberg. Questions for our virtual witness, Mr. Weinberg? Okay, any other questions for the panel? Okay, seeing none, that's going to conclude Bill hearing
Thank you,
on
Mr. Chair.
Senate Bill 962. Thank you.